안녕하십니까. 저는 이용익이라고
Hello
합니다.
everyone,
오늘
good afternoon.
발표할
I am
주제는
Yong Lee. The topic I'll be covering today is the new innovation in citizen communication with Seoul Smart Map with standards. But beforehand, I would like to briefly introduce myself. This is because I have learned of what GIS was in 1997. In 2000s, I became a public officer. Since then, I've been serving in the public authorities and thinking of how to improve geographical information systems. My focus point was how to simplify the system, but to make it useful for the public, for the general public. So I would now like to talk about how we are using the digital map in the capital city of Seoul in Korea. The earlier presenters have talked about metaverse or high-tech concepts such as digital twins, but my focus would be a bit different. It would be about the general public as main users of the map service. If you think of when you first met the concept GIS, it would bring back a lot of memories. I hope you could listen to the presentation with that in mind. What you see on the slide is the cholera outbreak map of London in 1854. It's one of the 10 infographics in history because it precisely portrays the phenomenon that cannot be portrayed by thousands of pages of a single report. We need communication between varying levels of information. That's why we need good maps. As I mentioned earlier, I work for Seoul Metropolitan Government, where we make a lot of administrative decisions. Our aim is to provide the simulation and the information that are easy to use for the general public. So we hope to facilitate the process in which we provide and make available the geographic information. Just keeping it internally in the government does not make information valuable. We need to share it with the general public. I mentioned earlier that we naturally make a lot of administrative decisions at the Seoul Metropolitan Government. Now, I would like to make a case. If you look at yourself in the mirror, you identify what's wrong with you, if you're sick or if you're feeling tired. I think that's the role of the maps. Maps can provide you with the information you need in order to make decisions. That's why I think we need geographic information, geospatial information. That is why Seoul has established its own unique map provision service. We have the Smart Seoul Map. It's service-oriented, it complies with standards, and it is an open platform. For Smart Seoul Map, we target fastness, accuracy, easiness, and sharing. Above all, Seoul's Smart Map is faithful to the basics. It hopes to share the power that maps have with the citizens of Seoul and also to assist the public officers with decision-making processes. Now let's delve a little deeper into the concept of Smart Map of Seoul. I hope Seoul Smart Map becomes a key to gaining insights to valuable information. Now let's talk about the history of Seoul Smart Map. It started in 2012, and the history can be broken down into 4 stages. From 2012 to 2014, it was the stage where we declared ourselves as capable of making a digital map. Afterwards, we added the visualization and digital transformation. Now we're at a stage where we are expanding the realm of service to our users. On the left side, you will see the target for our map service. And on the right side, you will see the map services that we provide. As you know, our maps are consisted of the feature map service and a target map service. We also provide open AIs. The maps are also downloadable. This is the first screen you'll see on Smart Seoul map. It's available on both PC and on your mobile device. You'll see the urban life map, the map exhibition, open AIs. It's all available at a glance. From all these services, I would like to focus on 2. The first one I will focus on is the urban life map service. This kind of map provides information such as bicycling routes or child-friendlier zones. This map is special in the way that general citizens, can also provide information, can feed the information into the map service. That means that citizens can edit the information. So it's unique in that aspect, I would say. A very special feature that Seoul Smart Map offers is the COVID-19 map, which was very useful during the pandemic. As you know, the COVID broke out in January of 2020. And we had to very rapidly provide guidance as to where to receive treatment, where to get tested. And the peak came in July 2021. It took 2 to 3 hours to wait for the testing station alone. And we relieved this congestion by offering a registration system where you could get registered and be tested in a shorter period of time. When the policies for COVID changes, our service changes too. For example, there are designated drugstores that can offer COVID medicine, and these are all kinds of information that can affect our policies as well. Now, you will see the map exhibition service on this slide. This is also available via a code that you see on the screen. Seoul has been providing maps from 1900s, which started as a paper map. Paper maps are also preserved, but what we do at Seoul Metropolitan Government is that we upload the paper maps into the database so that the paper maps are also available along with the digital map. Well, let's take a deeper look. This map was created when the March 1st movement of independence back in the colonial rule ages of Korea. It's taking some time to download. Now, the sites you see are the timetables that have been mapped onto the screen to see how the protesters moved about in protest against the Japanese colonial rule. The authorities, the Japanese authorities at that time created the map. It was transferred to another authority. And with this map, we can see through abstracts of older maps, older paper maps, we can digitally visualize how the protesters, what kind of route the protesters took in the demonstrations. When it comes to the sharing aspect, I would like to talk about Open API and web linked maps. I'm sure you know very much about Open APIs. What I really felt working for Seoul Metropolitan Government is that it's really hard to build a system. We cannot say that we cannot ask the other authorities to give us their data to create our service because it is their data. So at the initial stages of our Open AI, there were not many users because it takes the development process. Of course, researchers can have the ability to develop the services, but in reality, there were not many users. This challenge can be resolved by the usage of a web linked map. As you can see, the map creation only takes 1 to 3 days. It's free of cost. It provides map visualizations for free, and it's managed by experts. On the top, you'll see the map for Gangbuk-gu office, which is a region in Seoul. And it's a map that has been created by Seoul Metropolitan Government as a web linked map. It's also downloadable. These are all different services developed based on Seoul map platforms. The middle one you see on the top row is the citizen voice map. It visualizes the complaints filed by citizens. Each grid is 10 meters. Also, we have a map for monitoring at air quality based on AI. And what we are now working on is the street tree map. By showing the clusters of information, and we're showing proof that we can do pilot projects of the street tree maps all across Seoul. Now that was what I had to say about our Seoul Smart Map, and I would like to connect it to the concept of standards. My philosophy is that standards should be simple. For the last 10 years, what I learned as I have worked on geography and map making is that everything should be easy. It should be easy to provide the service. The service should be easy to use. The operation should also be easy. And based on philosophy, I have created more than 400 maps. And the maps that are created, that are easy to use, are actually used more often, even if it costs less for us to develop them. To do that, we have our own set of standards at Seoul Metropolitan Government. We also provide our standards as a set of guidelines to other organizations. But the specific standards are not, it's not on us to define the specific details of the standards when they are to be used by other authorities. By using Excel format tools, we manage the data. And once the data is in the platform, we convert them into other formats, such as XML. The second aspect I would also like to emphasize is Seoul. To provide a standardized level of service, and also providing open AIs at the same level. And as we provide the services and work on the maps, it's important to remember that it's important to remember that we should discuss each stage in the map making process without and involve interactions. In 2018, we had about 900,000 users of our maps, but it grew by 200%, which is very much. OpenAI calls jumped from 133 trillion to 4.26 trillion. So I think there's one key, which is to provide the service that our citizens actually need, to be faithful to the basic functions. That was supposed to be the end of my presentation, but I wanted to pose a question for us all together. By now, GIS information was for the experts. It used to be something that's very difficult. But geocoding or clicking on a button on a smartphone and other simpler forms of geographic information also exist, then are they also not useful? That is my question. Because basically, it's all the same lines. It's all the same points and zones on the map. You'll see the bike road at the bottom. To elaborate the concept bike road, a single officer drew all this. After the working hours, the officer made efforts drawing all these lines that are actually bike roads in Seoul. And it took about 6 months. So we say that data is important, people are important when it comes to maps. But I don't think that map makers should necessarily be experts in land survey. I strongly believe that general users can also be producers of maps. I hope for a simpler set of guidelines that can be used for maps. That's the end of my presentation. Maps are no longer, and only for the powerful.